is the study of the Earth and its minerals.
Even Jem knows the shape of the Earth isn't a scientific endeavor. Ask him someday.
So you're talking about shape of the earthology. I think at best you're talking about land surveying. And even they have foundational assumptions that guide their math and how they interpret these curving, distorting lenses and the plumb bob, 90-degree angles that they say they should be getting on a ball versus a flat plane.
Fluffing, Jeremy, or are you going to keep fluffing? Jeremy, geology is the study of the Earth and its components. Look it up. Go back to fluffing.
Why don't you ask Jem if the shape of the planet is a scientific endeavor? See what he says. I already know.
I looked up. It is the study of the Earth and its components. Jeremy, there are less letters in that sentence than your IQ, which is about 40. Go and look it up.
That was a nice one.
But the thing is, how much does this touch on the shape of the Earth versus just theoretical abstraction? There are axioms, things that are unproven, stated and unstated, that are part of interpretation and theoretical frameworks in science. They just go with a framework and run with it to guide their study. That's natural in science. But sometimes you might want to look at that foundational premise. Is the Earth actually curved, or are we just saying it is because Greek philosophers told us 2,000 years ago?
I mean, if you think I'm lying, you could ask Jem or one of the top Globers here if the shape of the Earth is science falls under the category of science.
Who here is the shape of the earthology?
You're saying Jem said this, go ask him on your point. No, you took the point, you're asserting it. Evidence, ask Jem. Well, why is that? What are you doing here? You're just fluffing people again. You get better money fluffing on a porn site.
The shape of the reason why it doesn't fall under science is because the shape of the Earth is a what is question. Science doesn't do what is questions. Jem knows this. All the top Globers know this. Ask them.
Yeah, I mean, with so much evil in the world, God's will be done. Read the book, Cannibalism, Blood Drinking, and High-Tech Satanism. It goes over the whole thing.
And what is container? Okay, you can't have gas pressure without a container. You tell me what is the container. Next one, if I pour water in a boat and it sinks, the density hasn't changed, but the boat has sunk. That is not relative density. There's two questions. I bet you can't answer it because you're slow.
Are you conceding that the shape of the Earth is not a scientific endeavor, or are we still on that? Or do you concede?
No, I'm not conceding at all because you don't have any assertions other than someone else said. That's not a proper assertion. Okay, you're saying it's not because they said. You can't say why on your own back. So really, you can't abuse that.
We have two different definitions of science. We have cause and effect science, and the definition that you're going with is ways to systematically explore and study the topic in a regular, observable, testable, and repeatable way. So we have two different definitions of science. So we're going to have to agree to disagree and, just keep that in mind as we move on and make the concession.
I'm not just telling you people said it, okay? Hold on. Yo. I'm not just telling you other people said it. I'm specifically telling you why it doesn't fall under science. Because the shape of the Earth is a what is question. Science doesn't deal with what is questions. That's why.
What is the sun? What is the sun? That's a what is question. That is science. Checkmate.
It's not.
Well, to talk about science as systematic study that is testable, observable, and repeatable on some level, that definition of science would possibly deal with the shape of the Earth. But what we're dealing with is a lot of philosophy being used to interpret the data in a specific way when another philosophy, flatness, could possibly be used just as well to interpret the data.
Let me hear your fucking hypothesis on what the shape of the Earth is. Why don't you run that through the scientific method for me real quick?
But I don't think he can anyways. But can we move besides the point that the shape of the Earth is science? Because I want to discuss another point.
What is that?
is that when we measure, like for example, the velocity and the position of certain projectile have been thrown or shoot at a direction, we can calculate them in an accuracy sufficient enough to what do you call it, fulfill the object of that experiment or that what do you call it, attack or whatever you call it. But don't you think in that formula we invoke gravitational force or the acceleration of the force itself?
Yeah, you probably do, but it's a jump to say that this gravitational force represents the object being pulled to the center of the Earth's mass, or whatever the hell you want to say, and hovering there. That's a bit of a jump. You may have just taken out a stopwatch, said in general, in say this medium of air, ether, whatever, objects tend to fall at this rate according to the stopwatch, although helium goes up against this, quote unquote, force. Or you could say that the medium is imparting the energy to the object to move up and down at that quote unquote speed. There's other interpretations even there that are available.
Helium, do you think?
Same data.
Yeah, but do you think when you say the helium goes up, do you think this contradicts our model?
Yes.
Why?
It's not being pulled.
Do we have an explanation for it, or you haven't looked at it before?
You have an ad hoc rationalization to keep the foundation intact, which is natural. You like the foundation. It's understandable.
Okay.
Hey, let me.
The ad hoc explanation is that even though gravity is not pulling the helium,
Lemon, point by point,
you make it up on the fly. And you make it up on the fly in a way that isn't necessarily justified by the theory itself.
Lemon, you're not talking to Zanuck or some other guy who's actually want to pin you down. I'm asking you, what is that ad hoc explanation that we're actually proposing to maintain our worldview? You said there's an explanation. Okay, what is that ad hoc explanation?
Okay.
You just say you're not talking to Zanuck or some other gay? The guy.
Other guy.
All right.
I also heard gay.
What the fuck?
Zanuck,
Sorry.
so.
I meant guy.
No, it's fine.
Okay, what is that ad hoc explanation?
So the ad hoc explanation is, even though helium's going up against this gravity pull in a way that kind of invalidates gravity, we're going to say it's pulling down everything else under the helium and indirectly buoying up the object, keeping gravity as a force intact, pulling down everything else under the helium, which is buoying up the object. It's a little ad hoc.
Let me, instead of thinking of it as it going up, why don't you think about it as being displaced by the air around it that's pushing it up?
Well, displacement is a good phenomenon to talk about. Maybe we need another paradigm that says, let's talk about the medium and how much force it has to displace objects. And forget about this gravity thing.
We do have that force. It's the pressure of that medium itself. The weight of that medium is what pushing the balloon of helium up.
So let's test the foundational premise, Happy Row and other dude, of whether gravity is this force pulling to the center of a ball, and or just the organizing principle of reality itself, or frequency, or pressure mediation, where all parts of the medium push out in all directions and can potentially go in any direction. If the barrier's moved out of the way, something's going to flow in to fill that space once the pressure is gone. Maybe we could look at some of that stuff instead. Continuum mechanics. Why do we have to have this cult of bumping particles pulled by forces? What about the structure of reality? Could it be ether, a sea of energy, vibrating? Making stuff go up and down by frequency, organizing the column.
Ultimately, everything that you see is energy. In the foundation of the particle, everything is energy, after all.
But even that is a philosophical conceit. I can't hold energy in a one-to-one correlation with reality. I will talk with you coherently about energy. I ascribe to the concept of energy, but really, you can't hold it. So it's still kind of philosophical too, which is fine. But we may need to look at other philosophies too, since we're talking about philosophy, just in case.
Do you think philosophy always corresponds to reality?
a good philosophy will. A Neoplatonic philosophy that is so removed from reality, so perfect, it makes you deal with reality less than it should, is a problem. That's a delusional philosophy.
Do you think that the reality is simple?
Reality is what is the ultimate state of things once you get down to it.
So how do you determine which philosophy is a good philosophy? What kind of axioms are you using?
It may help to go to the creator of reality, God.
So you have an agenda then?
Hell yeah, we all do. You put your cards on the table and say what flows from the agenda, stated or otherwise.
My belief in whatever I believe in has nothing to do with the shape of the planet and the foundation of this reality, to some extent. Well, it doesn't contradict what I believe in.
Well, the thing is, things need to be in an order too. Scientism over religion is going to be a problem. Because now you've elevated man's limited senses over the limitless capacity of God. Do I like scientism and its, gadgets and doohickeys and its, approaches and methods? Sure. But ultimately it reduces to the limited vision and scope of man. That is a problem. It helps to reverse that order and put it back in order with God at the top, with his infinite vision, infinite wisdom, and infinite understanding.
I mean, you're throwing me a lot of loaded ideas and concepts. I don't know where to begin with, honestly. Like, if you wish to actually speak a little bit slower and talk point by point, it's even better.
Well, I did mention scientism. This is faith, humanistic faith, in man's capacity, scientifically and otherwise, to view the world and accurately catalog it. I do not have that faith. I've seen man fail too many times with their agendas, with their lies, with their corruption and evil to ever do that.
Do you think scientists are evil?
Lemon are trying to get that.
I think that they're human and they can be misled. Jeremy, you were saying?
I was going to say they're trying to get that adrenochrome. You know what I'm saying, with their evil ways.
Yeah. The elites do need their drug of choice from the torture of innocent children. I was in the other debate server and they said, don't preach. I can get a little preachy, but they were the subtext of what they were saying was, women should have access to safe abortions and Christian clinics probably would not tell them about the service. So they need to be kind of like reprimanded or whatever. And I was kind of trying to point out the hypocrisy of saying Christian involvement in this issue is a problem when there's satanic involvement in the issue with satanic covens and Wiccans coming into clinics and using them for their sacramental religious rites and consecrating these babies to Satan. I was, moderated, and they said, don't preach. And I'm like, okay, maybe you got a point. But at the same time, I wasn't trying to pass a moral judgment. The only moral judgment I was talking about was the hypocrisy of trying to remove Christianity with their freedom from religion, freedom from the Christian religion basis, versus letting in the satanic Wiccans to have, rituals and abortion clinics. That was the hypocrisy that I was pointing out with, quote unquote, my preaching.
So what do you think? What kind of agenda a scientist has?
Well, I mean, when it comes to peer review, it's obvious.
You think scientists collaborate with each other and push ideas? Don't you think they actually have conflicts all the time for their own proposal and explanation?
Conflicting on their methods, united in their materialist atheistic vision in some cases.
And what's the problem in that?
It's going to shape the way that you interpret the data. That needs to be acknowledged with the cards on the table.
But their physicalist view of the nature will encompass everything, even the spiritual world. If the spiritual world intended to contact with us in any way, shape, or form, even if we didn't knew it did. We needed to agree on a medium. So everything will be encompassed in the physicalist view. What they're trying to understand and observe and make sense of is the regularities we see in the nature.
But we already went over how problematic that is, because the spiritual world with the entities therein can choose to interact with you or not. So they will elude scientific cataloging and scientific analysis on some level, because you can't control them like forces in the physical world, which appear to be a bit more regular.
I don't think they ever make a claim that a spiritual world doesn't exist because they don't have any evidence to prove it this way. I don't think they make the claim that God doesn't exist because they have any method to prove this way. Nobody claimed this way. They have their own beliefs, maybe, but they don't claim certainty on anything. They don't say that the spiritual world doesn't exist, and they don't claim that God doesn't exist. So where are you getting this agenda from? There's a lot of Christian scientists, by the way.
And
there's
ignoring it in science is just as easy as saying it doesn't exist. They just ignore it and refuse to make it part of their paradigm, which is their choice. But it is a philosophical assumption to say that we're only going to focus on the material world and ignore everything else.
Well, I think someone else needs to step in and start examining the spiritual world and other metaphysical things, I would suppose. If their intentions and focus are to actually observe the physicalist world and make sense of regularities by making up laws that can actually predict things, they can make up good predictions.
Nobel Prize winners have stepped in. Nobel Prize winners have stepped in and investigated these other possibilities you're talking about, and they call them kooks and crazies.
So what? Just like
what I mean.
just like Clement says, those are satanic cultists. What's the difference?
Your career is essentially over. I just told you when they go down this road, they blackball you. You're labeled as a kook, a nut job, and your career's over. No more funding, no more grants. You're done.
Why they should fund you?
You go from Nobel Prize winner to a lunatic kook because you tried to investigate something that either doesn't agree with mainstream science.
If he can't prove his own hypothesis, why would anyone give him any money or any prize? And if they succeeded, they should be knowable. There's a lot of school of thoughts about consciousness affecting quantum mechanics and so on. There's a lot of ideas about, crystal healing and those kind of stuff, Those are all things can be examined by people, tested, maybe, I don't know, try to observe, make sense out of it. You don't need to win a Nobel Prize. Why would you need to win a Nobel Prize? You're not a materialistic fellow. You're a spiritual fellow. You don't need funding. You can go.
People went down this road and they're labeled as a kook and a nut job, and he fell off the rails and all that. So I mean, there's nowhere to go in this realm because.
So you're being discouraged there. So it's not our fault. Then it's your fault. It's no one's fault. If I see something someone is proposing as crazy and lunatics, I would call him out. You're a lunatic. You're crazy. It doesn't mean that he's not allowed or he can't
materialistic. Because you're a materialistic fundamentalist.
Well, I'm not a materialistic fundamentalist, but you can call other scientists out. But so what then? Who stops those people from investigating the spiritual world then?
Well, okay, we need to talk about the paradigm and how it equips you or does not equip you for exploration. If your paradigm is keeping you from exploring something, maybe it's time for another paradigm just in case.
Well, I'm calling out people who are willing to go to that paradigm to actually investigate in that paradigm and show us what is actually true in that paradigm. Why would you force other scientists? So why would you force scientists who are intentions to actually study the physical world, study the regularities, make up laws to actually become efficient and effective and useful for us, make predictions so we can actually maybe avoid an asteroid impact, make us predict a solar storm that can actually wipe our communication infrastructure, to understand earthquakes, to understand geological mechanics of volcanoes, all those things.
You don't have to list them all.
Yeah, but you understand what I mean. So what is stopping the rest of the people to actually, forego their own studies?
Well, it connects to the ether. It connects to the fallen angels in the ether that they worship, that they'd rather keep hidden. It connects to the free energy in the ether that they don't want us utilizing because it eats into their bottom line with oil and other interests that they're vested in. They can't control it, and they would rather keep humanity in the darkness with a bunch of mutilated, hackneyed theories that have no unity and no synthesis.
Do you have any reason why do you think those kind of energy do exist and stuff on, and how do you know they're actually keeping us in dark?
People talk about getting energy from the earth, getting energy from the air. Technologies that they try to get funding for, they're brutally suppressed. They can't get any funding for it. Electrical energy, in most of the cases that I've seen, from the ground, from the air, from the ether.
Yeah, but hold on. Can you tell me what is electrical energy?
There's several different experiments that go over it. Tesla's things, Stubblefields, work with electrical telegraphic, electrical telephony, telephone wires.
Are they getting electrons into their body? Is that what you're telling me?
Electrons are part of another theory that is another conversation. The people that were the greats of our electrical grid did not think of electricity in those terms. They thought of it like a gas, a flowing medium going in and out of space. They had a totally different conception of these electron pebble particles that materialism demands from atomism. They had a different conception.
I mean, your phone works on it. You think your phone works on like some mystical phenomena that we don't know about?
Not everything is as it seems. If you dig a little deeper, there are other theories available.
So you're telling me a guy in mechatronics, I study mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, and computer science for programming robotics. You're telling me I need to invoke some mystical or exotic type of energy or whatever you call it to make things work?
No, it depends on whether or not you want to be stuck in the same paradigm or explore another.
You said some people utilize or they get energy from the earth. You said, I asked you what kind of energy. You said electrical energy, and I asked you to define me electrical energy. You went mumbling about something else that is, I didn't see any links. Maybe you can rephrase it. Maybe you can say it again to make the connection there. But I asked you, is it electrons? Are they getting electrons in some sense? You said, what did you say again? Are they getting electrons or no?
You use electrons to represent electricity. We have a problem because the greats of our electrical grid did not think of electricity in electron terms. So we have a bit of a problem there because they're getting electrical energy, but I'm going to have a problem naming it electrons if we haven't really proved that electrons, qua electrons, really exist by putting it in a jar.
So
I said about electricity from the air. If you would like to ascribe an electron to electricity, by all means go ahead if that's the philosophical conception that you are comfortable with. Just know that the electrical greats that made our grid and the theory behind it did not think of electricity in those terms.
You don't think electrons can move from a position to another position and travel from an object to another object?
That is from the atomistic, materialistic conception where matter reduces to pebble-like units that transfer their energy upon collision. Okay. That is a philosophy. It's a nice philosophy, but I don't know if every element of that philosophy is fully valid. So I'm looking at another one.
Okay. Man, you speak too much, bro. You speak too much. It's hard to keep up with you. I don't know if you're doing this consciously.
Thank you for talking to me. As long as we have our cards on the table, we can have an honorable rhetorical discussion. And may the best man win. There may be knives, there may be dirty tricks, but we can have an honorable discussion if we have all the cards on the table.
All the cards on the table.
Funny, Lemon.
Is it
but
possible?
Lemon has cards up his sleeve. That's the problem.
Haha.
I mean, I'm enjoying talking to Lemon. You know, it's like sometimes he make me question certain things and so on. Yeah, but I think we need some understanding of the philosophy of science, the history of philosophy of science, how we evolved, the way we interpret things, interpret phenomenon, how we improved or we changed our scientific method to encompass more phenomenon that we observe in the universe or in our day-to-day experience. And I remember my point now. You said that the idea of electrons are a conception, it's a philosophy. So when can we say it's no longer a conception, it's no longer a philosophy, it's a real thing? Just like a cup on my table, it's a real thing. An electron is a real thing. When can we do this? You said you need to put an electron in a jar? Is this your criteria of evidence? We need to put an electron in a jar for you to be convinced? I think he's left.
I think you lost your audience.
Yeah, man, we lost the mystical guy.
Yes, you have
see
to
the
put
irony
everything in a jar that's real.
in the joke that's been played on Globe Earthers, that the flat earthers are teaching the Globe Earthers science and how to apply it and how to understand the world.
That's a joke.
Yeah, that's like an awful thing for you guys to accept. That we have to teach you guys how to do science. What is science?
So what's your answer? Do we need to put an electron in a jar?
No, I mean, I'm just basically commenting on basically how we're having to re-educate everybody. Isn't it ironic? It's irony, right?
Okay, give again.
Nobody wants your rhetoric comments, bro. We're asking you a question. Do you want to indulge yourself in a conversation like Lemon did? Like, Lemon is way better than you, man. I know we disagree on a lot of things he says, but at least he tries to go with the flow of his conversation. You are a fucking weasel, man. You don't answer anything.
Well, I mean, what Lemon was talking about was very interesting, and obviously Lemon.
How dare you talk to Kimo like that? Like, do you not know who Kimo is? Do you know what Kimo represents and what he's about? You know what he's about? You know this man is.
He's a cunt.
What he's capable of. This man can single-handedly handle a room for many years upon end without flinching loyalty. And we can look Globers dead in the eye and lie to them consistently.
He is a gonorrhea crap.
without a bother, he sleeps, he wakes up, goes to sleep, and destroys Globers.
Levels above.
Level. This guy.
Talk
Respect
to him.
Kimo, man.
Talk to him, Brummy.
Hey, man. These guys
suck
don't
his
know
dick
about
some more, man.
Wow, Kimo, right?
It's Macaulay Kimo.
Yeah.
Robbie would go gay for Kimo. Can't even blame him.
This man has got strength. I tell ya, he cannot be wavered. He cannot be shaken. He cannot be rocked. His focus. He's focused. He's there. He knows where he's going, and nothing in his way can stop him or waver him. He's just going to go.
No reason, no logic.
Prince Kimo, strong as 10 regular men, can't you see?
So
This man here.
These people are materialists. Anything you can't quantify or that's it. That's it. If you can't put a number on it, then that's it. It doesn't exist. They want nothing to do with it.
Wait, Jeremy, isn't that what the guy who wants an electron in a jar say?
He's
That
infallible.
sounds like a materialist.
He's impenetrable. He's unstoppable.
Okay, you're still talking about
Can't be
Kimo. Somebody else
reasoned
brought something else up. So let the flow.
Simping.
No,
He's simping for Kimo. He wants to suck his dick.
That's just the beginning of Kimo's power. It's just the beginning.
Good.
He wants Kimo's dick.
How long are you gonna suck his dick for? Are you gonna let the conversation move on? Or are you just gonna keep sucking dick?
I'm just calling a
Are
goose
you
a
gonna keep
goose.
sucking
That's
dick,
all.
or are you gonna let
Calling a golden goose a
forward?
golden goose, mate. Do you know what I mean? Kimo is more than a partridge in a pear
You're
tree.
gonna get fucking
More
herpes
than
in
a
the mouth
partridge
from
in a
this
pear
guy.
Do you know how many days of Christmas? How many
Oh
days
man,
of
you got a
Christmas
cold sore now.
Since day one.
No, but
Get me?
in all seriousness, I think, like I say, they are afraid of what real science is, and I was just saying that Lemon is teaching, not just preaching, showing you guys how to look at the world, how to think about things critically, and nice guy here is learning all sorts of how to do science.
I did learn a lot, quite a lot actually.
And that's all we tried to do. We just tried to show you guys the errors of your ways. Yes.
Just put some
But,
respect
refer
on
to
his
the image.
name.
Refer to the image that
But-
I posted.
But
Kimo,
Kimo,
we're
you
about
understand?
Attack yourself for the questionable beliefs that model our world poorly.
Kimo, we're the bus drivers. We take him to school.
Yeah.
You got a new job, huh, Jeremy?
Next time we're gonna put Kimo in a jar to know if he exists actually or no.
I think he may be an AI.
Designed by the government to make people dumber. But by the way, Kimo, did you understand what we're talking about? Or you have no idea?
I was in and out of the room, I was.
So hold on, how did you know that he was teaching me things?
I was listening. I was in and out.
So you were in the room. Hold on, so what the fuck? Wait a minute, so you're just talking rubbish then?
Bro, he was in and out of the room. You admitted Lemon taught you shit. Why are we even continuing this?
Look, hold on, you can't just teach someone in an instant second. It's a long conversation we had. Unless you know what we're talking about, you can't make that assumption that I was learned anything from him. I learned something from him.
You said
I said
yourself.
it by myself. But how can he determine that? He's
You
full of
said
shit,
Lemon
man.
taught you.
Yeah, I said. How can he know that? He said it before I said it.
He was in and out of the room. He heard parts.
You're
He
talking
heard
about
parts.
philosophy
It's
and
not sufficient enough.
gravity and then electric and all these types of things.
Yeah, man.
But I mean, I just, like I say, it's what we do. Lemon was educating. And we do make it difficult for you guys, right? We don't make it easy. I mean, like you say, if it's Jeremy showed you many times when he interject. I heard when Jeremy said about the I don't know if that was now or before, but the Earth. What's the science for the Earth? I mean, it is
Do
no
you think
science
there's
for the shape of the Earth. That is, sorry.
Kimo, when you say he educated you, Globe Earthers, he educated you, do you think there's a negative connotation to it from our perspective, or do you think you're just stating a descriptive thing that happened?
No, for you there is negative connotation.
Why do you think so?
Like I say, it's ironic that flat earthers, the way that you see us, are teaching you guys, you know, how
Well, what
to
did he teach?
He's showing you how to,
he never teach me something.
Because he was asking about philosophy a little bit, so he was showing him how to apply philosophy in the right
listen,
way.
I know about philosophy more than Kimo knows. This is not about this. When I say I learned from Kimo, I learned his perspective, and I learned why he can have contingencies with certain concepts and certain philosophical for his particular reasons. And I learned that he has an agenda, you know, an agenda to prove Christianity's faith to be true and correct and dominant. And that's his agenda. That's what I learned from him as well. I learned multiple things, but this is the most relevant thing I have heard from him, that he has an agenda indeed. He didn't teach me He didn't teach me anything about physics that I didn't know. He didn't teach me anything about philosophy that I didn't know. I just trying to understand how he thinks and his thinking process, which something is interesting because now I can go back. Tomorrow I can come with the history of philosophical.
You can't get into the mind of a god. How do you get into the mind of a god? Seriously. All right, how do you understand how a god's mind works?
Your god is mighty damn weak.
This mind, the levels.
Your god,
blasphemy.
Your god is mighty damn weak if you're associating with Kimo or Lemon.
To normal folk, you would never understand.
I swear, if God,
normal folk will never comprehend.
if God is real, he would be laughing his ass off on you guys. He would be shamed, but then laugh his ass off on you guys. Because holy shit, you're fucking his own creation. You're misunderstanding his own creation. That's how we see it. True. You laugh at it because it's true. True. You know this, motherfucker.
This is like looking into a black hole, bro. Like, you know, the density. Like, this is where you step into the unknown right now. This is where you get into it.
Actually, by the way, I'm gonna surprise you. the paradox of a black hole has been solved, my friend. And if you don't know about it, I can give you citation for that thing. Just
You
let
think
me
you
know.
know. You think you know, but you know. No, that's the thing. You think you know. You don't.
No, hold on.
You know what I mean?
Tommy,
You
why
don't
don't you
know.
let me speak?
I don't study black holes. I can give you people who study
I'm a-
black holes, and if you
bro.
have an argument against that thing, you talk to them, man.
Bro, this is this stuff here. This stuff right here, my nigga.
Yo,
this
Lemon
is some
studies
real
black
intense
holes.
stuff.
Just don't talk
Even
about black
rocket
holes
science
because you
knows
know
what's
nothing.
going on. Rocket science can't help you. Nothing can help you in this domain. Right? It's never into a...
Rocket science. Give me his dick. Rocket science.
You know what I mean?
Okay, hold on. We need to get a grip, man. Get a grip, bro. Let's relax.
And I've
Let's be
got a
serious,
good grip. I've got a very good grip right now.
man. You're letting your fucking pussy loose, man, dude.
Nice guy, do you think the flat earthers would be justified in mocking the globe earthers if they were wrong? Like, let's say you figured out that they were...
Sure.
Of course, absolutely, man.
Well,
Absolutely.
no, I would say no, because at the very
I
least,
don't have problem.
the round earthers are in keeping with the social norm or the education system. So mocking them for believing what's been proven to them reasonably
No, I don't mean
would
like the
not be
general
justified.
public.
But you can still mock them if you
I
want.
don't mean the general public. You just go out there and start teasing people. I just mean like yourself here. If you know you've been promoting it, pushing it.
I said yes, you can.
Yeah. Okay.
As soon as you proved it, I would say. You know, as soon as you proved it to the general public, then you can mock me for all
Even
my
if you
beliefs.
didn't, I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? It's my subjective personal preference. I don't care.
I don't think you can, because we're the victims of. In your narrative, we're the victims of a terrible lie that's been perpetrated upon us.
That's why I ask. Yeah.
Why would you mock the victims of a lie like that? You wouldn't mock a person who'd been ripped off by someone?
I do feel sorry for us, yeah, but again, some people would think... Well,
I don't need your pity, man. Fuck you, man. Smoke me, don't pity me, bro.
Some people think, well, we've told you time and time and time again. I mean... And that's
Hey,
why
we're
I
just
say
waiting
not,
for the evidence.
and that's why I say not just like the general public. It's those who have asked the question, is it a ball, and they found out it's not, and then they still think it's a ball even though there's no evidence. Do they deserve? Are you still a victim in this case?
I mean, I've seen lots of evidence handed over to you guys. I'd like to know, as soon as you hand me some evidence of the flat Earth, I'm all on board. See, you have to be like quite a bit of evidence. It's got to be preponderance, but
I mean,
I'll start to take you seriously when you start proving something.
Hold on. I want to say something. The funny thing, Moyo, the thing that we hate about the idea about heaven, do you think people like us, especially someone lazy like me, would reject the idea of a heaven, that if I pray to God and do good and boom, I can go to heaven? Do you think a sane person like me would actually reject heaven because I want to suck Satan's dick and make fucking children with him or something?
I mean,
like,
you say evidence here, Moya. I mean,
what does that even mean?
The only I mean, if we were to parallel your, like globe evidence, so if we tried to mirror what you've got,
right,
you're
that'd
not
be great.
Yeah,
that'd be
so
awesome.
For example, let's say photographs. So you're never going to get a photograph of the entire Earth because we don't know how big it is from the start. So you have to rule that out. Can't say
you can't rule it out.
You can't say I want a picture of the flat Earth when you know or you understand that you can only go so high, and the Earth could be so big. That's out. So that's like me saying, show me the
height?
edge of the universe and behind.
What's that height? Because I mean, I've seen rockets go 40 miles and 100 miles, even amateur rockets. So what height is that?
Well, we're in the works. We got something in the works. We're gonna get some buoyant fishing line, and we're gonna pull it tight.
Amateur rocket went 100 miles.
Percent. Are you deafened? It looks like you're deafened on I can see. I hear you, but you're not.
How can you talk to a person who's deaf, dude?
No, but it's sign. Is it just me? Is it? I don't know.
Oh, what? Me?
Percent.
Oh, okay.
By the way, I have a proposal for Gem Banda.
Now, hold on, we're going through the evidence. So if we're going to parallel, so Moya, you've got to rule that out. You've got to rule out the idea of a picture of the entire Earth. That's why they faked it in the first place, because they couldn't get a picture of the entire Earth.
But 100 miles, you should be able to see curve. We've got cameras that have flown to 100 miles. They seem to show curve. So all you got to do is copy them with similar equipment and prove it with your rocket.
So if we go high and show a flat plane, you'll say that's not evidence. So if you show...
I've got to know the camera and lens and all that shit, but it would be some evidence.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, it's like we could just say, look, we've got altitude balloons. That's evidence. You're saying it's not evidence.
I've seen those, and they show curve. At least the ones on rectilinear.
That's what I'm saying. We say it's flat. You say it's curved. So we've managed to mirror one piece of evidence.
Well, it was demonstrably curved. You can see it. You can measure it. You can
That's
see
what I'm
it in
saying.
the
You could argue that all day. We
so
say
how do you say that? You say it's flat.
because we're saying that it's not curved. It's completely flat.
Right. But the photograph that you provide shows curve.
You don't have measurements to back that
higher
up.
in the middle and lower at the edges.
Yeah, but remember,
and then you say it shows flat. How is that?
Yes, but remember, you don't have science or any measurements, not even measurements or science, to back up what you think you see.
Oh, sure I do. I've got plenty of it.
See, now we go down to another part of evidence with measurements now. Now we can say, we've measured a horizontal and it's absolutely flat. You would say, no, we haven't. We say, yes, we have. You say you've measured curve. We say, no, you haven't. So
Did
again,
we say a reason why we said no to that? Was it because of refraction of the laser beam, or what are you talking about?
So we're able
or was it because you measured a segmented curve like Kia does?
So far, we have the same amount of evidence. I haven't gone
You don't
into
seem to be
measurements.
addressing anything I'm saying. Okay.
I am because you're just being silly. I'm saying we could be here all day.
Those are very serious questions.
Because we could be here all day, couldn't we? When someone takes footage from a high altitude balloon, they say, I see flat. You say, I see curve.
No, I measure curve. I see it. It's pixel for pixel. There's a high point in the middle of the photograph of the Dwayne Kellum video with the rectilinear lens. There's a pixel per pixel difference in the elevation from the corners to the center.
Right, so you measure with pixels, and we measure with water on a horizontal.
You measured with the balloon with water?
No. We measure the surface with water. Water's horizontal.
Okay, so you're saying from the photograph from Dwayne Kellum.
But you can't take a measurement from the photograph, because we just have to put a ruler across and we can say it's flat.
Of course you can. You can even measure speed by also taking video and counting frames per second and how much.
Yeah. So we can just put a ruler across and say, look, flat.
Right, but when you look at that ruler, it deviates at both ends.
No, it's completely flat.
Not from Dwayne Kellum's video.
Yeah, the highest altitude balloons are completely flat. Now, again, you can argue over that back and forth. Yes, they're not. They're not. Yes, they are. I'm just showing that we can parallel pretty much your evidence that you have. So far. Maybe not everything, but so far we've got pictures. We both have that. We have measurement. So you measured it with pixels. We're going to measure it with the horizontal. So what other evidence do you have?
Right, I'm trying to get to the Dwayne Kellum video.
Yeah, again, I mean, they're all like silly arguments. I mean, you could say the gyroscope proves
the
rotation.
Silly argument is you saying that it's flat when you hold the ruler up against it, and when it's evidently not true.
I mean, how is it evidence? If you say we've got a gyroscope, ring laser gyro, it proves rotation. We say, well, our version would be to have a helicopter and to have it hover. So either, what my point is not to get into an argument, is to show you that both sides would say, well, no, that's wrong, this is why. So if it said this is why, it's not really evidence, right? See?
Hold on, I'm trying to get the video where we got the curvature.
So we could argue all day about the ring laser and say this is why it's not evidence, and you could argue all day why the helicopter is not evidence. So that's not really evidence of rotation. What else do we have?
Actually, I think that you still haven't addressed why the fact Dwayne Kellum's video shows curvature.
Kimo, we're working on a physical, tangible measurement here. So I mean, it's only a matter of time before we got undebatable, definitive, objective proof that there's no curvature.
You're not working on jack shit.
So how much work have you done, Jeremy?
Well, we're still in the brainstorm stages, and we're working.
So you haven't done. So you're not working on anything right now, right?
Well, if you're brainstorming about stuff and thinking about it, you're not working on it.
Absolutely not. No.
So they don't hire people for think tanks to just
Not
work
like
just
you.
thinking on things.
No, they don't.
They don't. That's not a real thing.
No, it's not. Sorry.
So, Jeremy, you've been think tanking this. How long until you have a deliverable?
We got something in the works. We got
Okay,
we got a
have you
solid
got-
idea.
You'll have it done before you go to the moon.
Have you gotten the?
Oh, definitely, Kimo.
Have you
Definitely.
gotten
We got a
the surveyor
solid
yet?
idea, and
Have you priced out surveyors
it'll-
yet? Have you priced
once
out
we do it, we don't need a surveyor. No optical thing is going to end this.
No, but the surveyor does. They do
I
that
mean, you've
little
got all your life,
they don't
Jeremy.
do long distance measurements.
Any optical thing you come up with is a piece of shit. It's not going to
No,
end
you're a
nothing
piece of shit.
in this.
Hang on. So, Jeremy,
I'm just saying,
you can't tell me-
optical
you can't tell me
things
when you're
aren't going to
have a
end it.
deliverable. Jeremy, you're not going to tell me when you have a deliverable, but how about you tell me what you brainstormed so far then?
Well, we're gonna get a long piece of a line, buoyant line, right? We're gonna put it we're gonna do it underwater, so we get rid of the sag on the line. It's essentially gonna be sagging up because it's buoyant, right? So you pull the line tight. You have it 6 inches a foot under the water on each side, and you go measure it in the middle. No sag. The Globers won't be able to cry or complain after. That's it.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, and
How
it's
long
not
does it
like
take
that
to make
hasn't
that?
been tried before and completely failed, of course. But
Who
How long does it
tried to
take to
do it
think tank
underwater?
this?
Hold on. Who tried to do it underwater?
Question for you, Jeremy. Something that I could tell my 6-year-old to go do in about 5 minutes. Why is it taking you so long?
I don't think you could.
Jeremy, why is it taking so long? Why is this just still brainstorming? It sounds like you're ready to move on to an actionable course of action here, and then give me your deliverable in a reasonable time frame.
It's fine. We can give them the time they need, bro. But they need
Anyway.
to do it as fast as possible.
This was the what was it called? Talk the Line that Mitchell from Australia on his old account, can't remember what that was called. But this was basically his exact plan to do exactly this, to use this buoyant Spectra fishing line, it was called, and put it underwater, and this was his same plan. Exactly his plan.
And now he's a flat earther.
Well, he was a flat earther to start with. He's the idiot who claimed that the star trails from the ISS are proof that the Earth's flat, apparently.
So did he do the test?
Look, we're only idiots because we go against your narrative, Gem. If your narrative turns out to be false, then which it is, which you can't do. And remember, the thing that your position is more you trust, and you say you have no reason not to trust. You don't have any reason to trust, and that's the thing because you just.
I do. Most people in my life have been trustworthy.
No.
Yes.
People, like I say, they don't know what you. That's not true. You're not friends with everybody in the world, no.
No, most people in my life, so the people that I have come across, not the people I haven't come across, but the people I have come across, have been honest.
Until you got into the flat Earth and met a load of Globers
Met
who
a lot
started
of
lying
flat
to you.
earthers who lie like fuck.
No. When you met like space people, like real people who, like if you spoke to them and stuff, now you can start distrusting them because this is it, Jen. This is the point. When you got into this, those people that you were trusting, if you'd have questioned them the way we questioned them, you would have said, well, I don't trust you anymore because you're not giving me what I'm asking for. See? See what I mean? Like on those behind the curtain.
I'm talking about every person I've ever met.
No, they don't have an agenda. We're talking about
and my claim is that of those people, the vast majority of them have been honest with me. And my second claim is that is also true of you and the people that you have met.
Right, listen to what I'm saying. You're not addressing my point. I understand that. So when this whole...
So I do have a reason to trust people, don't I, then? You said I
we
didn't.
We did. Yeah. Hold on. We did. Yeah, we all did. We all trusted people back then, and we thought the Earth was a globe.
Maybe you got no reason to talk back to Kimo, though. You can't talk back to Kimo like that. It's just unacceptable.
What are you on about?
What are you on about?
Just tell him to shut up.
Kimo.
Anyway,
I think it was maybe a joke that
I
failed.
So, yeah. But what I'm getting at is, you don't mind me prodding you a little bit, poking and stuff, no?
Go ahead. Go ahead with your...
Good thing wasn't here when we said all that.
But would we agree, before we go any further, on the former point, which is that most people who you've met in your life have been honest with you?
Oh, yeah. That's not what I meant. No. Yeah, you're right on that point.
Right. So would we agree then that if that's true, I do have a reason to hold a position of, default trust towards people?
No, yeah, that's right. But I didn't mean it like that. But yeah, when you say it like that, that's
Good.
Right. But now I get to think about where I'm trying to get at. And I understand now, yes, we did trust. I wanted to be an astronaut. I wanted to go to space, go to the moon, trusted these things were real. Like I said, but now, what my main point is now is once this comes to light, people are questioning the shape of the Earth. Those people that you thought, and that we could trust, because now we're questioning those people that we thought we could trust. Yes, you should join this mission that we're on to raise awareness and question the people that you trusted, and now they will give you no reason to trust them if you actually ask them. They're just still trusting them. Get what I mean now, right?
No, yeah, but I don't think that's true, is it? Because I've seen the sort of questions that you guys think I should ask, and they're moronic. So, I don't think they would lead
you're afraid to act. Exactly,
they wouldn't lead me to this position of disbelief.
It's fear a little bit, because you're like, they're going to tell you something that you just don't want to hear, right?
I would say, hold on a minute. You said that you launched satellites into the upper atmosphere, and you also said that the temperature of particles in the upper atmosphere was 2,500 degrees, and that would melt a satellite. And they would go, but hold on, there aren't many particles in the upper atmosphere. And I go, oh, okay.
No, but again, you'd have to start. Yeah, but this is what we're
trying to do. I would do that with every flat Earth question, wouldn't I?
No.
They would give me an answer, and I go, oh, all right then.
No. This is it. You see,
I guess that's shit evidence then for
a
flat
then you're not.
Earth.
We haven't done a good enough job on you. Then you're not listening to what the flat earthers are saying. We're trying to teach you how to think critically. When someone says something like that, you've got to think, they've still got an agenda going on, because I'm sure I understand the physics of war. Like, at this point, you should start to understand yourself, the world around you. And now you're just trying to, as most flat earthers...
What does that even mean?
Because when you understand you've been lied to,
without being presumptuous,
you start to figure out certain things about the world around you, right? So now, as an early flat earther, you'll start to ask the authorities questions. You think they're going to give you the answer, but you don't want them just to give you any flyaway answer like they've been doing. You want them, to give you more than what you've had previously, right?
Yeah, you want substance.
You know what I mean?
Well, I want an answer that's reasonable, logical, and is evidence.
Now, I know, obviously we'll have this round dinner one time, but look, this is what needs to happen. Not just with you, but a lot of these, the Ball Earthers, is that when they get to a certain point, when they're speaking to these people of authority, and they get to a certain point, you've got to press further and ask more. I mean, you see us do...
I think what you're saying is I've got to just not believe anything that they say.
It's not about belief. Remember, Jen.
Whatever they say, I should reject it.
But remember, we just said it's not about trust. These people that you trusted before, remember, you just had no reason not to trust them. Now we have every reason, because possibly in your mind or in my mind or in anyone's who's just come to this for the first time, it could not be what they told us. So that means
but if you had any reason to think that, but then you could maybe have a reason to doubt the people that have told you that. But you don't have any reason to think that. So.
Gem.
I wasn't shouting at Jam. I was just having a bit of fun. But look, that's more. I know he's not going to just deny it anyway. So, but you know, like I say, once we have a real conversation, Jam, we're going to go on, bro.
Why are you shouting my name? What?
Your follow-up question should have been, how did you get a temperature measurement if there is no molecules up there then?
Well, that would be a problem for you, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and stuff like that. But like I say, I mean, look, that was not just directed towards you, Dan, but all of the board. They need to think like this.
Jem's sounding more like a flat earther each day. He's trying to reverse the burden of proof, isn't he? He's getting clever. His glober's getting loose, I'll tell you.
But your objection starts with that claim, doesn't it? That the temperature is too hot for the satellite. So if you're saying, how do you know the temperature, then okay, how do you know the temperature?
Well, we use your
evidence. If you don't know the temperature, it's the end of the argument.
We use your evidence against you, like the claims that you guys make. We put it together and we see that two add two isn't equaling 4.
Right, but he's now questioning that evidence that you're using. So if you're drawing it into question and saying it's questionable, you then can't use it. And if you haven't got the temperature evidence to start with, you haven't got an argument.
Well, if somebody comes up to me and they tell me a lie, and then I would use the credence of what they're telling me, the story that they tell me against them to find out the truth. So if they tell me, oh, I ran 100 miles an hour and then I jumped 100 foot, I'll be like, so you're telling me you ran 100 miles an hour? And they go, yeah. And I go, well, that don't seem true, does it? And then just because I don't believe them doesn't mean I can't use their story against them.
That's true, but the problem is that in order for this to work, you have to only use half the story and pretend that the other half isn't there, and that's intellectually dishonest at best, if not just downright dishonest.
If space is to be real, and if the things that you're telling us about space is real, and these satellites are, especially if they're being put there by people like rocket scientists, they should become crashing down a lot sooner. But I did like the argument you had with someone else about Spain and black, and I think it was very ignorant of them to say that blowing them up would be more sufficient than actually just painting them a certain colour that would obviously would make them
overheat.
Yeah. That's the word. Thank you.
Because you only need the electronics to stop working, don't you? And it's fucked. That's all you need to do.
Yeah.
Is make a chip blow up or something like that, and it's had it.
The space debris I thought about is that apparently there's enough space debris out there already. And if one of them little molecules they're spinning around like bullets, and they're supposed to be able to take things apart. And apparently, if these things keep crashing into each other, or if a couple of satellites crash into each other, that means the whole satellite systems of that level of orbit will all go out, and spaceflight will be rendered impossible anyway. So it's a high risk situation to blow them up with a rocket, or a missile, because that would possibly cause so much space debris that you'd never be able to go out into space. That's something I can't remember where I got that information from, but I saw it somewhere.
The Chinese actually did it. They actually blew one up with a rocket, and it caused that problem. There's a load of debris now because of it.
Oh god, the Chinese, man! When will they learn?
Remember, you're talking about the Kessler syndrome. You're talking about something called Kessler syndrome.
I've got Tesla syndrome.
Just because if a satellite crashes into another satellite, this causes some long chain reaction of crashes. Just because that's a potential threat.
I should go and do some dinner, really.
It doesn't mean that satellites are fake.
Turn yourself up, Chronic. I can't really hear you. It's an effort to hear you.
Somebody mumbling in the background.
Yeah, Chronic is saying something about potential hazard. What was that, Bray?
So, in answer to the question with Dwayne Cullen video, current Kimo, I posted a couple of images. It seems as if there is this curvature of the horizon.
Seems to be.
Huh.
Flat also.
It doesn't seem to be flat. Flat would be flat. That's measurably curved.
Well, what's the measurement then?
The measurement was the line that was drawn on the picture. Did you look?
That's not how you'd measure the Earth.
Well, that's how you'd measure a curve. You put a straight line in as a reference, and then you look at it.
Are you measuring the actual Earth or the apparent horizon?
You make that argument. Measuring what the photograph shows.
Is that the actual?
One that you said was flat. You said it was flat. So you're making it a
say it looks
a
flat.
distinction as to its being flat. No, yeah, but when measured, it's not. And it actually looks curved to me. At 200,000 feet, I can see the curve.
Yeah, but is that horizon physical or is it the atmosphere?
So now you're changing the argument. So you're saying that
you're making a claim that it's flat based off of that horizon. And
Moyak, do you understand? Moyak, do you understand what I'm saying? That no optical thing is going to end this? Pictures, lasers, no optical thing.
No, it should.
You need something tangible.
It should.
Tangible. Tangibility.
What's the lens doing? At lower altitude, because somebody asked a good question, was percentage asked, what happens at a lower altitude? And I showed the 50,000 one has less humps. So the camera lens somehow changed between when it was at 50,000 feet and 200,000 feet.
Yeah, that's why we need something tangible, something that doesn't change.
No, you need.
No, we.
You're retarded. No, you're retarded.
Well, wouldn't a curvature that you are saying is caused by a lens, wouldn't the curvature rate remain the same no matter how far away you are?
Bent to an
No.
yeah.
Right. So
Not of the horizon. No.
Horizon change, the dimensions change. It doesn't remain the same. It's almost as if the horizon is a spherical object.
Look, bottom line, either horizon, flat Earth or globe, is a fucking circle. You get the right angle on it from the right altitude, from enough altitude and viewing angle, it's going to appear curved. True. This is a stupid, futile argument.
There's one problem, though.
Pretty much, yeah. I told you, Moyak. Back and forth.
Kimo, your flat Earth would not have a flat, straight horizon viewed from sufficient distance.
Don't tell me about the flat Earth curve. You don't understand how.
How would you know anything about flat Earth? Come on.
Curve, your voice sounds different.
It's not a straight line.
Yeah, but don't tell me what happens on what wouldn't happen on the flat
It's
Earth.
packing in. Day by day, it packs in. It's getting worse. We're a bit worried for our curve.
The only person I'm worried about is you, and you going off.
Don't be mean to Curve now. Look, Curve, the idea is that you don't have the measurements to back up. You've got to go.
And what measurements do you have? You say you have a measurement of the horizon.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's horizontal. It establishes the horizontal.
How'd you do that?
Water finds its level.
Oh, okay. So you're only talking about near field measurements.
Water
is a better
isn't
tool
sentient.
than water.
Water doesn't do anything.
What tool is better than water for establishing a horizontal?
A transit.
Water
for
is
establishing
not
a horizontal.
Chemo, water is not sentient. It doesn't find its own level. It doesn't do anything.
All right, but
they don't use water level to determine altitude and for surveying, and surveying yields accurate results. So the better tool than water would be what would you call it? A transit or a total station?
Better than nature.
Yes. It yields better results.
They calibrate laser equipment with water beds.
No. Water is the and it finds its level perfectly at rest.
Water doesn't find its own level. It's nonsense.
It seems to be flat on the top. I think it's easier to believe in this stuff if you believe in a continuum fabric of reality that connects everything. No separation.
Like Kimo said, unfortunately, you guys don't have the measurements to back up what you're claiming.
What do you mean?
Well,
Lemon.
If you think about this atomic pebble particle conception that you guys seem to have with the globe and with atoms, and stuff, there'd be a lot of space between those pebbles. Wouldn't it be more likely to be a flat, connected, flowing surface as opposed to a particle pebble atom?
Why?
There's all that empty space between the concepted pebbles. Don't
Why
you
does
think that's a
making
bit of a
sense to
problem?
lemon have any bearing on reality?
Unless your philosophical conception deals with that empty space, we have a problem. So, why don't we look at things being connected like a fabric or a fluid that's
Because not
flat?
everything has to make intuitive sense.
In
I'm trying
that
to think of
case,
some of the things that I've come across in the past couple of years that are not intuitive, but we all could probably agree on being.
Sorry, Lemon.
The balloon,
Moya,
the balloon
Lemon,
inside the
let me keep you what was going
I
on.
think I was talking, Glenn.
Yeah, but we're just going off topic. Before we go off
turn.
topic, Moya, can we
You're
just
waiting your fucking turn, cunt.
Yeah, but we're just going off topic.
Okay,
but
shut up.
topic though.
You're off topic, Kimo.
Hold on just a second.
So there's things that are not intuitive, like the balloon in the car, the helium balloon. When you first look at that, a lot of people get that wrong from intuition. So why does intuition always yield the best results?
No, it doesn't. But, to help check it, it does help to have a philosophically knowable truth that comes from a very consistent foundation in pebble particles that they're talking about, or they seem to be talking about, with empty space between them. I don't know if I can go with that as a discoverable truth.
Well, some things just aren't intuitive, Lemon.
But it does help to have
It doesn't mean they don't.
Yeah.
Sure, it doesn't mean they don't exist or they're fake. They're just not immediately intuitive to the human brain. That's all.
But we have to have a way to discover it. That's the basis of revelation and truth, to have a discoverable truth.
Good thing we have these things called experimentation.
And tools.
Very good tools.
Lemon, when you discover truth and you still see that things are not intuitive, do you reject that discovery as false?
I have to change. I have to change my paradigm and the whole house so that eventually the truth, the observation that you're talking about, can find a home. So something has to change. The truth itself twisted to my old paradigm, my old house to house the truth, or the house to house the truth, one and or the other. But something's going to have to change.
Okay, without the metaphor, let's just look at the information. The idea that the Earth is a globe is counterintuitive to what you bring to this conversation. What flat earthers bring to I see flat, it is flat. If it's curved, that's counterintuitive to what I see, obviously. So the issue here is really whether or not you're willing to alter what you consider to be the truth with the new information, even though it's counterintuitive.
It is a struggle and it is a fight. It could be true that it's a globe, but the question still remains, why wasn't the House of the Mind prepared to take this truth in? Maybe it wasn't because it's a lie.
And what do you mean the House of Mind wasn't able to take it in? It seems like the conclusion was made 2,000 years ago when people with the House of the Mind started thinking about it.
Well, he was actually making some progress. Lemon, I'm impressed. So you think maybe it's a lie, but you said maybe. So did you consider the other maybe? Maybe it's the truth, and you just have to continue to investigate further.
I did used to be a glober, so I already accepted this truth, but I ended up rejecting it because of inconsistency. My house was trying to change to take this truth more, or take more elements of this truth in. The stuff wasn't fitting. I had to break a wall. It wasn't working.
Yeah, I'm speaking differently. I'm speaking since you rejected the globe, then you saw something that was counterintuitive, which is that the Earth is a sphere, to your observations, which is that the Earth is flat. And now that you come to this kind of, I don't know, revelation, I guess, or this clarity, I'm still asking you, with the information and with your concern of inconsistencies, why don't you continue to investigate? Because those inconsistencies may in fact simply be areas that need more clarification for you.
I'll have to keep looking, but I have a new paradigm now in a new house. It's very comfortable, very nice living here, and I'm bringing in some other flat Earth truths. And now when I see the globe, I analyze it in reference to that paradigm and that home.
Whatever. All right.
Now, keep in mind, if I had a clump of flowers and they naturally turned into a revolving ball that would orbit around me as the greater mass, maybe I could believe this heliocentric conception that is based on gravity pulling things into a ball to orbit other things. But if I can't see something in my everyday life, something that prepares me for this, I'm going to have a problem.
I think I've asked you, I forget your answer, Lemon, but I'm just curious. What are the things in the sky that we're looking at? What's your interpretation of them? They're just God put them there, or they're projections from the Illuminati or something?
Sonoluminescence was one. Did you remember me talking about it being sonoluminescent light?
Yeah, so it's fake. It's fake light.
It is a light that comes from a collapsing cavitation bubble that collapses so fast, light and sound are emitted from the pressure to collapse the bubble.
Do you have evidence? Is there observational evidence? Is there observational evidence that we have of that?
You've never seen sonoluminescent star in a jar?
No, please enlighten me.
I'll put it in the chat again. Hold on.
So this sololuminescence is responsible for every single thing that we see in the sky: the sun, the moon, the stars, the galaxies, the planets, everything.
It's somnoluminescence. SOMNO, I think.
I got you. So Lemon, Lemon, your sololuminescence is you're saying that's responsible for producing everything we see in the sky?
It would only be in the context of the stars. If the sun is not a star or the moon is not a star, it would not cover them. Only for the stars. This links to the watery medium, the waters above, which goes very nicely with the biblical account that I tend to want to assimilate.
Does sonoluminescence really jive with Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and the stars that we've been able to get resolution on?
That is a good point. I guess the counter to that would be maybe the curved lens is putting spherical architecture to the image and the stars that you're seeing and/or planets. It could be an artifact of maybe the lens, but not.
Right, but it's not so much the artifact of the lens. It's the fact that like Jupiter has distinctive features that one can look at, and so does Mars. You can see the canals of Mars. They don't seem to be something that one would expect to see in a sonoluminescent object. And the distant stars seem to range in color, where sonoluminescence doesn't seem to vary in color much.
You're talking about the canals. Could it be, I don't know, the solid architecture of the firmament, maybe?
I'd like to have that further explained.
The solidity of the firmament as opposed to the solidity of the light.
So you think that it's beyond it and there's like some framework in the way?
Yeah.
Some moving framework that like scoots along the sky with it?
Trying to go with this foundation, I don't know. I don't know if they move in sync or if it moves past it. I don't know.
And then the little things that move in front of Mars, in front of the canals, like the little things they call moons.
That is a good question. There are dark stars that were known of in the ancient world that were translucent bodies that would occasionally get in front of other stuff and eclipse it. Whether or not that's solid or a light, I don't know. What was that?
They seem to have resolution also. It's not like they're translucent bodies. They look like fucking rocks.
They do look pretty solid, I will.
And they cast shadows on the planets. especially in Jupiter, you can see the shadows cast from them. So I mean, they don't seem to be like you can see the rock and the shadow.
I will agree that the moon appears pretty solid, but with like the planets, you look with your own eye in a telescope, it looks like light. And I don't see the rest of this stuff that NASA's CGI, appears
Well,
to
I've
be.
seen this with my own eyes. My son had a Boy Scout troop with an astronomy night out where the astronomers came out and brought their wares and let the kids look at them, and I got to see everything up to like $20,000 telescopes. And you know what? I was rather surprised at the amount of information they could get out of those little blobs of light when they put the time lapse on, put the right camera on it and stuff. It's like, wow, there's actually colors up there. I didn't realize that from my little $300 telescope.
Interesting. Sonoluminescence does appear to be blue light, but
Yeah, that doesn't seem to be what most stars are.
I'd have to bring in extra bells and whistles with gases or solid stuff in the firmament or whatever, but who knows?
Seems like you're having to jump around a lot to try and come up with an answer that's so evident.
People are willing to make ad hoc explanations because of their foundation. It just depends on how.
But it sounds like you're the one ad hocing.
Well, your side has its ad hoc stuff too. I mean, helium goes up against gravity, and you're gonna bring out this ad hoc explanation where it's pulling down everything under the helium and indirectly boring it up. I mean, that sounds a little ad hoc.
Excellent. Did you see my little test that I'm planning on doing for the helium? I wanted to know what your take on it was.
Have you done it and gotten the results?
No, I haven't done the results yet. I just gotten all the test gear together, so or the method. Like I got my TV to work, so I'll be able to film it properly. I'm just going to cast from my phone to the TV, so you can see the thing inside the tube. But my question is, in the tube, when I put helium in it, is the helium going to be denser at the bottom? Is it going to be denser at the top, or is it going to disperse in all directions equally?
It's going to be denser at the top, according to my, view of things, because in the quality of medium that we're in, density wise or whatever, it's going to organize the column in the tube as it passes through the tube, the ether anyway. As it passes through into your tube, it will organize the column in such a way that the helium must go to the top. Or
Cool. Okay, that's good. That's wrong, but that's good. I like the fact you made a concrete answer.
We'll see about that. We'll see about that.
Yes.
My hypothesis is
it's wrong if he hasn't even done it yet.
Well, we have two different hypotheticals. So
Right.
my hypothesis
It's hypothetical
is,
for me too. I've never done it.
Okay, so you don't know it's wrong.
Oh, I'm very confident.
what are you going to do when you figure out that the Earth is flat, level, and motionless?
That'll be evidence based. So when evidence comes, I'll do it.
I imagine Globers everywhere committing hara-kiri and massive Glober suicides once they figure out.
Because it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. The shape of the Earth doesn't fuck with me in my daily life. Only a little bit in radio propagation, but even there, I deal with such short distances. It's usually not a problem. But it is kind of a nothing to me. So if you were to prove it unquestionably, the only thing I would have to do is now understand how the hell they got maps and shit to work.
Because even, the best paradigms have things that, can't quite be fully explained. And, ad hoc explanation is part of the process. It just depends on how many inconsistencies there are and how willing people are to look at, alternatives. So, in the book, The Structure of Scientific Revolutions by Thomas Kuhn, it goes over a very interesting, process about how these revolutions, form, people fighting for their paradigm. It's like people fight, tooth and nail to maintain some of this stuff.
That's not what the book says, but make up whatever you want.
Really? You've read the book, Mr. Mackey?
Of course I have.
Fascinating.
Yo, first person to correctly guess the answer to the riddle I made in text chat is the smartest out of y'all.
I got a second edition. I got a free, version of the essay. It might not be the right version, but it was free, so I got it. It's about 222 pages ish. So hopefully I got the right one. But it says "The Structure of Scientific Revolution," second edition, PDF, baby.
No, it basically says people hold on to paradigms, but anything about fighting tooth and nail, does all that other stuff. And Thomas Kuhn actually responded to a lot of people who made interpretations of what he wrote and said, y'all got it wrong.
Really?
But yeah, I mean, you can ignore that too, though. I'm sure you will.
Let me see. I'm trying to see if I can find a decent quote from this baby.
Yeah, I gotta go out for a bike ride.
Have a nice bike ride, sir.
Later.
You being a quoter.
Not for those cars turning in front of you.
Son of a bitch. Yeah.
Remember, it's a flat Earth. You don't go up or down.
Around here, it's about as flat as you get.
Yeah, so, every day we're looking for globe evidence. There doesn't seem to be any. We're told every day that there is globe evidence. It seems kind of strange that we're not able to actually acquire any globe evidence. So it's a belief that we were told, like I was saying to Jem earlier on, that we held on to. We didn't ask our teachers, and now we have the chance to ask. So obviously, if we ask the right questions.
Well, maybe you didn't ask. The rest of us did, and we got answers that we found persuasive and reasonable.
Exactly.
We're sorry you didn't.
Well, that's the point.
Yeah, we all asked our teachers as we went through school, and their answers are pretty damn good.
Yeah, I mean, you asked about what you believe to be true. That's not the point.
No, we asked them to defend their position. We asked them to defend what they're telling us, and they did a very good job. And being reasonable people, we said, okay, that's reasonable.
How is that a good job when you're the student and you're struggling to demonstrate what you've been told?
They're not, though.
To demonstrate then what you've been told.
I already did. I can't to you. I can do it for myself. I can do it for any other reasonable person, but you don't fall in that category of reasonable people. So of course I can't prove it to you. You refuse to accept it.
You can only do it for people who already.
No, I can do it for all reasonable people.
Yeah, who already think the same
way
that you do.
Reasonable people. Don't rephrase what I said. I said all reasonable people.
Yeah,
You're not in that category.
I'm saying that only people that already agree with what you believe.
No, that's not true. But you can continue to believe that. That's what your narrative requires.
But Kimo does have a good test. It's a test of truth. Is it because these people are unreasonable, or is there a real problem?
Yeah, I mean, if you're just going to
we each have to judge that for ourselves, right? And I've come to my conclusions. You've come to yours. And I am under no illusion I can ever convince you of that you are unreasonable, but you are.
Well, then we need more pressure. Pressure can help form a diamond and get rid of impurities. So
what can I do? Tie you down and torture you? No, I don't want to do that.
We're talking about war. We're knocking out the tape, stuff like that.
No, but see, you guys aren't threatening to me, so I'm not going to take any time. I don't need to do this for you. I mean, we'll offer it for you. I mean, there's lots of people here offering to teach you, and if you refuse to learn, there's nothing the rest of us can do. Since none of us are willing, even if we had the ability to tie you down into a chair, do all the Clockwork Orange style, force your eyes open and brainwash. We don't want to do that.
Right. I'm pretty sure Jeremy's talking about education than most PhDs have at this point.
What do you say, Brian?
What if you are talking a complete load of shit?
In another way? More pleasant, Brian.
It helps if the paradigm says you have this concern. This is how the paradigm deals with the concern in a rational way.
Brian makes a good point here. I think he wants Scott to answer. Scott, what if they're talking a load of nonsense, or it's rubbish, or it's made up? Then what?
Then it's super easy to disprove.
Exactly. then all of our predictions won't work. All of our calculations will fail. Our rockets will crash. Our planes will crash. Our bridges will collapse. All that shit will happen. They
Hold
don't.
on.
So we're good
Hold
believing
on.
that. We're good.
Hold on. Is level curved?
Mute him. No, it's
I'm
not.
not. I don't even care to answer that. If you don't want to accept that, that's fine.
What's
I
your
can't
answer?
argue with
Level
you.
curved.
Ryan,
Yes, no, easy answer. Is
Yeah.
level curved?
What's your answer?
Of course it is. Of course it is. Next,
Yeah.
moving
Curve
on.
says yes.
Yes.
Mackay,
See
you
what I
say
mean?
yes.
About talking a load of shite?
Absolutely, yes.
What does Scott say?
No way I
Scott
can
Mackay.
convince you otherwise, Brian.
Does he agree
Okay,
with
so
people?
based off of those implications, water will only stay flat and level in a flat surface and would roll off of a ball
Where are your
because no
measurements to show
curve would
this?
provide enough of a
No.
level
Where are your
for
measurements?
it to stay on the surface.
Where
that's
are
just
your
wrong.
measurements to show this? I want to see
This
this
is by
alleged
logical-
flatness measured, as you
This
guys
is by-
claim, as you assert, as you presuppose. As you presuppose, sir.
This
Where
is
are
by
your
the logical
measurements?
implications of the philosophy that you have, where level
Not
is
philosophy.
flat.
So you
If
got
level
nothing.
cannot be
You're just
curved,
gonna-
then
you're
nothing
just
can
gonna
stay
gish
level
gallop
on the surface
a
if
bunch
it
of
is curved
bullshit
by
as
behavior.
usual.
Sure can.
Water cannot
Brian, you've got everybody
support
going.
itself.
You have
Water
nothing.
cannot support itself.
Impotent
It
fuck.
cannot form a curve.
That's just
So
silly.
Wait a second. A meniscus is water supporting itself, forming a curve. It's not the curvature of the Earth, but it's just a quick little first thing that came to my mind
A meniscus.
to show that what you're saying
You're talking
is
a
not
load
true.
of fucking dribble again.
That is a straw man curve because the question wasn't whether or not water can curve, it's whether or not level is curved. And level is discovered by the behavior of the objects on the flat
I
surface being
apologize.
supported and not going anywhere because it is flat, not because it is curved. So by philosophical implication, if you're saying that the earth is curved, it
Finish
is
a
level
sentence,
and
for
the
fuck's
water
sake.
would run off of it, a mic drop.
No, it wouldn't.
Finish your goddamn point. All right, thank you.
Of water
Now,
cannot
Nabbit.
support itself. It cannot form
Fuck's sake,
a curve.
Muppet. Who's pulling your strings? Who's pulling your strings, Muppet? Tell him to stop for a second. I just want to apologize for coming in here and talking to you people who are definitely, obviously, too stupid to even engage in a discussion on this matter. That's my fault, my lapse of judgment. I apologize.
That's all right.
No
Fuck
worries.
off, you
You're a
We've
right
got this,
thinking enforcer. You're not really thinking about challenging the system. You're only the hired muscle to enforce the system, but not to think about its foundations. It's understandable.
Right, we need to get
You
back
don't-
to
you don't
Brian's
find that the
point.
least bit delusional, huh, Flat?
We need to get back to
Lemon?
Brian's point here, which is a very good point here, Scott, because you said, that you don't. Basically, Brian's saying that what if you're talking a load of nonsense? How are you checking what's being said?
We've already been through this about a million times with you, Kimo. I'm not going to go do it one
Have you
more
spoke
time.
to
I'm
Brian
sorry.
about
I'm
it?
not,
He asked the question.
I'm not dancing. I'm not your little monkey.
Have you not
I'm not
spoke
gonna
to
dance
Brian?
for you.
How many times have you spoke to Brian about
Not
it?
dancing for you, Kimo.
It's not
I'm
for me.
sorry.
Brian
It's
asked the
not gonna
question.
happen. Yeah, I'm not dancing for him either.
What are you going to do? You're going to answer any questions about the globe that you're supposed to live on?
Not the ones that have been answered 10,000 times already in the year I've been here.
What are you going to do then? What are you about now these days? Who are you? What have you become? What have you evolved into?
Positioning him, Kimo. What's it to you?
What have you evolved into? Because he's talking. I hear his voice. So what's going on? Who is he? What's he about
No,
these days?
I was talking to Lemon. I wasn't talking to you, though, was I?
Yeah, what are you
But
talking
thought you
about
had the need
exactly?
to
Is that
butt
a one-on-one?
into
Are you having a private conversation
whatever
with
you're
Lemon?
doing. I'm not even sure what you're doing.
I'm asking you, what are you talking about these days?
I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to understand you all. Actually, I'm trying to understand what your psychology is, and how you see the world, and why you're so deluded. And I'm still not clear. Still not clear on why you're deluded.
Interesting. It is interesting that you call me delusional when I find your foundational worldview, atheism, to be utterly irrational and incoherent and incapable of generating any form of lasting or enduring sanity. But perhaps I am crazy, perhaps not.
You're not,
Who
Lemon.
knows?
You're not. It's just that, again, these guys are finding it very difficult to accept that they've been lied to. This is the crux of the matter here. And when we ask him very simple questions, if he had proof, he would be glad to display it for all to see. But obviously, he's ashamed. He's
I don't think that's
embarrassed.
the issue, Kimo,
He's embarrassed of his
as
own
noted by
answers
him
because he
wanting to
knows that
repeat
these
himself for
answers
the
are not very.
10,000th time. So I'm pretty sure it's not his lack of willingness to offer it up, but your lack of willingness to understand it.
How many times have we told you gravity's not a force?
How many times have you proven it? Exactly 0.
We'll tell you all day long, gravity is not a force. Over and over again until it gets in your head.
That's a great claim, Kimo, but back it up.
Of course we back it up. We show that density relative
You know, it was debunked 105 years ago by one of your own fucking arseholes.
And we'll tell you that every single day. Not like Scott McKay, oh, I'm too tired to tell about this wonderful body of evidence that we have. Okay, but I'm not going to tell anyone about it because I've already told you. And yeah, it's sunk in. It was well
perfectly
explained.
Fine. Show me the peer-reviewed scientific paper that debunks gravity.
There isn't
Show
one,
me
is
the one that fucking proves it, you twat!
Right.
Proves it to whom?
Answering my question with another question doesn't earn you any points.
Well,
there, Brian.
gravity is a
Kimo,
presupposition.
Back to my point.
You complete fucking moron!
Brian, shut up.
Just because you don't understand the proof.
Well, no, it is upsetting, McKay. I tell you what, when Brian is trying to ask a very simple question, and then you turn around and say, well, actually, I don't have to talk about it, I don't want to tell you. It's going to be infuriating. When we're trying to find out the truth about where we live, about what's going on, and you're a guy who defends the globe, but we
No, I
kind of
don't.
think, yeah, you do. You think you want to see a
I
ball
don't
flying through
defend
space. Yeah, you said you're interested in why we think the way we do. So we're giving you what we think is things like, have you verified it? Have you checked it?
Him being interested in your psychosis doesn't mean he has to defend his position.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is
Kimo.
what's he going to do? Is he just going to? Is he here to listen, or is he here to be involved in the discussion?
Kimo, can we start with just the fundamentals? This is such a waste of time. What is a force to you?
Brian can take this if you want.
No, Brian cannot take this. Kimo, I'm asking you.
I'll take this one. I'll take this.
Go ahead, Brian.
I'll take it after you're done.
The only force in this realm is push. There is no such force as pull.
All right, Kimo, do you agree with that or do you disagree
Absolutely, there is no pull in. Well, but we won't look. There's only push. There's only push, and gravity is meant to be a pull. So,
Kimo, let me give you some information.
can you direct it to where Brian flattened? Don't be so rude.
Okay. What's magnetism?
It's fine. The whole room can listen.
Well, the whole room, but Brian can take it.
Yesterday, Witsit tried to, or someone tried to make a comment that the apple is broken off from the branch and then it falls. And I said the problem is the word then. Okay. The reason why the then is the problem is because you're not. Since you're saying that there's no such thing as something that pulls, right? The apple should float because nothing's pushing it down. The air above it, which is less dense than the air below it, isn't pushing it down. So you're stuck. So
Good
tell
point.
me, why does that apple go down?
Well, when you're talking about a force,
It's in you twat.
Well, didn't hear any of all that crosstalk. Let's try again.
Well, you were talking about a force, and you have to get
I
philosophical.
wasn't talking
with
about
that.
a force. I caved in.
Hold on, Lemon. Hold on. Let me take this fucker, Lemon. Let me take this. Put your apple tree underwater and now detach the apple from the tree. Which way does it go?
Why do we have to put the apple tree underwater? Why can't we watch the fucking apple tree on the ground and make observations based on the ground?
Does the
Why
apple
does your
go,
observation
moron?
Well, I think this is
underwater,
flattened.
Brian?
The way
Flattened.
questions and answers go is the person that asks the question first gets their question answered first. Then the person
I think his
that asks the
I
question
think
second
his
gets their
answer then
question
flattened.
second.
We can
So
say
let's
that.
let's take it from the top.
Go on.
Why does the apple go down when there's not anything pushing it down?
Because of the quality of the medium and an occult quality where it's interacting with the medium in some sort of way that is making it go up instead of down.
No, hold on a second, Lemon. Hold on, Flatten. What is down? What do you mean down?
Oh, I'm sorry. I got you. That nice one. So for the vast majority of things that move around without any noticeable push, When they are above the surface of the ground,
Okay.
they tend to go in a direction that we all call down. You may not call it down, but I'm going to call it down. So an apple
Okay.
that is on a branch and it's not touching the ground, once it detaches from the branch, it's going to go somewhere. It's not going to float.
Well, that's. Hold on a second.
Hold
Hold on. Slow down. Slow
It's not going
down.
to go what we call left or you
Yeah,
got to
but
slow down.
you jump from point to point. So you said down is the.
Okay.
You said down is where we say. What did you say it again? What is down?
Well, since you may not call this down,
Yeah.
just kind of entertain me for a second. You know what I mean? So the direction that my feet are on when I'm walking
Mm.
versus my head. If I point to my feet, I'm pointing down. Are you with me so far, or do I need to slow it down? Do I need to slow it down?
So you're choosing that way to be down, yeah?
Well, at this point, we're just using a word like
No, stop. Because
I need to stop. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. Okay,
yes,
go ahead.
because this is what I'm saying. Because that original down meant towards the center of something. We're not
No,
using
not
that.
talking about towards the center of anything.
We're not talking about that down. Yeah, that down is no
I'm
more.
talking about my feet. My feet is down. Above my head is up. Are you with me so far? You having
But for the
trouble keeping
purposes
up?
of the definition,
Hey guys, he's having trouble keeping up with this. I don't understand. Is there a problem?
he has a good point. I think he knows what down is and he knows what you mean. But for the purposes of this definition, it is fully defined with gravity as toward the center of mass. So it's no longer just.
We're not talking about gravity.
Exactly. So you can't use that down, Brian. You can take this if you want. Yeah, let Brian have this.
Okay. All right. You guys can't do it.
No, carry on.
So let's try it again. Real easy. I've got this word called down and this word called up. Okay. Now I can point in any direction around me, but I'm going to point above my head. Like if I stretch my arms up, I'm trying to yawn. That direction that my arm is going is up. When I'm walking and I look at my feet, the direction that I'm looking is down. Are you with me so far or no?
I just wanted to clarify that. Brian, are you still with
Wow,
us?
you need more clarification.
I am, mate. I'm here.
Okay.
I mean, I wish it curved. Curved, if you want to curse me out right now, please feel free. Just call me an annoying POS and I'll accept it.
Flattened. Apple, force, tree. Brian, let's go.
What we're talking about?
Apple.
He needs no, we're not talking about apples yet. We're talking about which way is down.
Doesn't
He
matter
needs
what
more clarification.
Well, we know what direction you're talking about with down. It's just the question becomes: is it just an arbitrary tautology where it's down because we define it as this?
No,
the majority of stuff seems to go in this direction, or does this have an essence beyond our arbitrary definition?
The answer is no. The answer is absolutely no. All I'm saying is which way down is. Okay? I thought you flat earthers like
well
to keep
done.
things.
Well fucking done. Now we know.
Now we can read it. Down is down. Now I
up
have a
would be
question for
toward
you.
heaven, which is above us in a planar sort of level,
Up would be above
and
my head.
down would be toward the ground, which is
I
below
have
us in a planar sort of level.
I have a better.
Because these definitions.
When I'm looking at my feet.
Flattened.
These directions.
These
definitions.
I know the rest of the room is sick of me.
All right. Listen,
Now,
Flattened. I have
so
a better. I have a better
the apple
vernacular.
gets detached
Listen.
from the tree
Hold on.
and it goes
I have a
towards my
better
feet, not above my
terminology
head.
for you instead of up
I
and
don't
down.
want you to change the subject.
No, not a
This is what
subject.
happens when you
Not the
argue with
subject.
Flattened.
If you
You get a
listen for a
20-minute fucking
second, I'm not
conversation
changing
on
the
what down
subject. I'm saying instead of saying up or down, we can use above and below.
Above and below what?
That's what you're asking, right?
No, it's not what I'm asking. You're the
Above
one
and
that brought
below
this up.
you. Above you and below
Okay,
you.
so that's fine. We can play that game too. So below me is my feet, right? Below my eyes is my feet, and above me, if I turn my head in such a way that my neck is stretched out and the back of my neck is kind of going up against the back of my shoulders,
Your neck
and
is
the
a pack of
direction
hot
that I'm
dogs.
looking, we're gonna say is above. Okay, that being clarified ad nauseum.
No, the apple was above you. Now it's below
The
you.
apple
You want to
was
know
above
why?
you, and what happens is that the apple detaches.
It was
and the apple
above
could-
you. The apple.
The apple could stay in place. It could go in any, let's just say 360 directions in three-dimensional space. Any of the 360 directions. But it goes by and large in one direction. And that direction ultimately takes it towards my feet. Why?
Because we are swimming in the sea of the ether.
The apple is going up.
All matter is within space, aka the ether, and space itself vibrates. And when it vibrates, it separates the medium into columns that go up, down, left, right, wherever, and the object will vibrate toward its preferred place in that medium, be it helium going up or us going down.
The apple went up.
Let me ask him a question.
The apple goes up.
Jim,
Let me get Brian in.
Not interrupting him.
Flatten, you need to. Are you going to speak to Brian?
I said the apple goes up.
Hold on a second.
Did anyone hear me?
Why does the apple stop going down when it hits the ground?
Damn, hold on.
Why does it stop?
Yeah.
Why does the apple stop when it hits the ground?
Well, I haven't gotten my question answered yet, but I'll get to yours after.
If you're in Australia, your apple goes up, little man. There's your fucking answer.
Nope.
Relative to the other location, yes.
That's not the.
Yeah, your apple falls up. What happened to gravity, son?
That's not the conversation we're having.
It is. You're on the earth. You're on the earth. Your apple falls up.
So,
but he does show the problem with the philosophy.
Explain why.
So does anyone have a coherent answer to my question or not?
Does the problem with your philosophy?
Do you have an answer with your apple falls up?
Okay.
So it's challenge.
I don't think anyone can hear anybody.
Hold on, Lemon.
No,
he told us an apple fell up. He has to explain it. Explain why the apple falls up.
Okay, look, really, nobody can hear anybody.
Explain why the apple falls up.
More disorder.
Nobody
Explain
can
why the apple falls
hear
up.
anybody.
Here's the answer. Here's the answer. The world adheres to this law of relative density. Okay.
Celebrate
so the
birth.
apple is always trying to go down, returning to its equal density.
Celebrate
it's trying
disorder.
to, but it's attached to the tree, and that's
Everybody
preventing it.
talk.
Okay,
All
and then
at
when it's
the same
detached,
time.
nothing's stopping it from returning to its equal density. It's just it's
I can't hear. I can't hear Kurt.
Celebrate freedom from wrong think. Celebrate freedom to think.
Joining in. Come on, celebrate with us. Everybody talk.
You're just the enforcer for the establishment narrative.
Absolutely.
I haven't got my
done.
question answered.
Not that anything was getting done before.
I
but
had an answer and you rejected the answer and you didn't say what grounds you rejected it off of. I told you that we were fishy swimming in the ether sea, and that ether sea is vibrating, making things go up, down, and separating the sea into different levels that things will vibrate toward. You didn't like the answer.
Then let me respond to that. Right now, I see nothing vibrating anywhere around me. Secondarily, a sea denotes that there's some kind of fluid, some kind of liquid fluid that I'm going through. There's no liquid, there's no fluid. Excuse me, you wanted an answer? You're getting your answer. I'm looking at this
and
chair.
I interjected.
Excuse me. No, don't interject because I let you speak uninterrupted. So this chair, not vibrating. The lamp, not vibrating. This computer, not vibrating. I'm going to have to reject what you say because it doesn't match what I'm saying. Thank you.
So let's go with your arbitrary rejection. Already in atomic theory, atoms are already vibrating. So you accept that part of atomic theory that says all atoms, whatever the hell they are vibrating, yet you reject my reinterpretation in the ether sea, saying that it is BS, despite the fact that atomic theory essentially is the same claims. Arbitrary.
We weren't speaking.
Do you have a non-arbitrary objection, sir?
Well, let's try another non-arbitrary objection. So a sea denotes a fluid, a liquid. He says swimming. I'm not swimming in anything. I'm not being arbitrary because I'm literally sitting here, and when I walk, I'm not swimming through anything. Going back to his earlier point, when he said I'm being arbitrary.
You're excluding Brian. Flatten.
Finish. I'm being
Flatten. What you're doing,
right? Idiot, bro. Illustrated.
You're being muted. You're being muted here, Flattened. Look, you're excluding Brian from the conversation here when we're asking Brian to get involved, and you're obviously not. So, Brian, again, if you want to bring up this gravity thing and find another ball earth if they want to engage.
Brian is a danger to society.
What I'd like to say for a start off, air is a liquid, so you are fucking swimming, even though you don't think you are. And if you put an apple underwater, it goes fucking upwards. Twat.
Hey, twat. Air is not a liquid. How did you get so dumb?
Yes,
Muppet?
it is, mate. Yes, it is. I'm sorry to tell you, because you're as thick as shit.
Fluid.
Well, it
you
does
mong.
flow.
Fluid.
Have you ever seen
Not
Have you ever
liquid.
seen Schlieren
You know the
photography curved? You've probably seen Schlieren photography and can make the same conclusion, but you don't want to make the conclusion because you don't like where the conclusion leads. But you can see the air flowing in Schlieren photography where they pour the air against a special photographic plate or whatever, and you can see it coming out like a liquid into the glass.
Air is not
So it's air, but you just need to be willing to make the conclusion if you're willing to change your paradigm or whatever.
There's no such thing as pull. We only have push in this realm.
Right.
Brian, does that mean magnetism is only a pushing force?
Well, go push your butt, Brian.
Magnetism's an attraction, isn't it? It's an attraction or a repulsion if you use the other end of the magnet.
Right. So when you have
attraction,
what is pushing them together?
How is it a push? How is attraction a push?
I never said it was a push. I said it's an attraction. It's not physically bound, so it can't be a pull, can it?
It's not a pull. There's only push, you say. So if it's being attracted,
only push.
It's being pushed according to you. Right, according to you, it's pushed. So how is the magnets being attracted? How is that pushed?
In our realm,
Answer the question if you
apart
can.
from a man-made fucking magnet.
Why does man-made matter?
Yeah.
Doesn't everything else that we interact with is push? It's a pressure.
Oh, good.
What
Japanese
about
in the
natural
voice.
magnets?
Beat him over the head with this, Chappie.
What about natural magnetism?
Fucking try it.
That's why I talk about the vibration of the ether sea that we're in.
About
We
your
have to,
vibrator, Lemon.
we
That
have to
Muppet
swim
is
through.
supposed to answer a question. It's Muppet's turn to answer a fucking
You know,
question.
I'm just going to mute.
He doesn't answer
I'm going to mute
coherently. Can
Lemon,
we
and if
just
that
skip
gets you
Nabbit?
like
I
banned
love
from
you
the
to
server,
death,
I really don't
Nabbit.
give a fuck at this point.
Can we go on to another way to answer these questions? The thing is, space has
We're
to get
not
out of the way for you to move through space. So that would
Nobody
tend to
talks,
be a
nobody
swimming
asks you.
fluid interaction.
What is going on here? Nobody
Sir,
asks
I
this
can't
guy a
make logical
question.
points with you.
Somebody
I
was
have
talking to
talk over
Muppet,
you. I'm
asking him
sorry.
about magnetism.
He
Muppet,
doesn't have
answer the
coherent
question, sir.
answers. Why are we asking him anything? I love you to death, Mabbit, but you don't have coherent answers about this stuff. I'm sorry.
Oh, shots fired.
You do.
Just saying. We're in space, and space is like a fluid that has to get out of the way for you to move through space. That would be like a liquid interaction. It's not like a block that you have to push out of the way per se. When we think of like solid objects, it's more like a fluid that is all pervading and all around.
What is pushing in a vacuum chamber? What's pushing an object down to the ground?
The ether that is going through the solid container into
I
the
didn't say you
vacuum
live in a
tube and
vacuum
still
chamber. I
providing a
said in a
medium.
vacuum chamber. What is pushing an object to the ground?
Ether in there.
I didn't say
Did you
we
hear
live
what
in
I
a vacuum
said? There's
chamber.
still
I
ether
asked
in
in a
there.
vacuum chamber, what is pushing an object to the ground?
The ether that's in the vacuum tube.
I don't live in a pineapple under the sea, but I'm not asking about that. I'm saying in a vacuum chamber, what pushes an object down to the ground?
The occult qualities of the medium determine what goes up in that medium and goes down in the ether medium. Vibration, frequency. If the frequencies combine at the right, amount,
Is he
you
roboting
may have
or is
levitation.
my
You may
connection's
not.
bad?
Your connection's bad. It's clear.
I think he's got me muted. Do you have antithesis muted?
No, I can
No,
hear
his
you.
connection- he just said his connection's bad right now.
Okay.
Okay.
So in a vacuum chamber, what is pushing an object down to the ground?
Mabbit?
Nothing. You got to tell me it's not pushing up
Who says it's pushing?
in a vacuum.
And what is the bottom of a vacuum chamber?
Magnets are the only thing that there is pushing.
There is
Or
no
attraction.
direction in space of a vacuum.
No, I
And
disagree
you don't
about
have a
that
vacuum either. No direction in space, son.
There are vacuum chambers on Earth. So in a vacuum chamber on Earth, what pushes an object down to the ground?
Why? Do you live in a vacuum chamber?
I'm not asking about living in a vacuum chamber. So, in a vacuum chamber, no, apparently I don't.
Is wrong.
So, in a vacuum chamber, what pushes an object down to the ground?
Why are you using a vacuum chamber to see what happens on Earth?
Because I'm trying to find out what
Well,
the
Earth
pushing
doesn't have
force in a
vacuum
vacuum
chambers
chamber
on it.
is.
You just
I'm
said
trying
Earth
to
doesn't have
find out what
vacuum
the
chambers.
pushing
You made
force in the
that.
vacuum is.
I never said we lived in a fucking vacuum chamber, did I, twat?
Neither did I, Brian. So, in a vacuum chamber, what pushes an object down to the ground?
We don't live in a fucking vacuum chamber.
Hey,
I didn't say we live in a vacuum chamber.
fucking grip, dude. Like you're adults in a room full of adults.
Scott, you're about an hour and a half too late.
Well,
It's
loud and Nabbit, come on, buddy. Come on. You're an adult, my friend.
Wait, fucking twat.
Remember, Brian, remember how old you are. Remember we're all adults here. Remember that we're just talking about science, okay? It's just science. It's not anything to get mad about.
Do you hear how calm I am versus how furious he is? All I'm asking for is what is causing, what is pushing an object down to the ground in a vacuum chamber? That's all I want to know.
It's a reasonable question.
Tell us then. Tell us all, for fuck's
Gravity.
So he is not willing to work out his idea. I move that we politely move the conversation on toward different territory, namely the sea of ether that we are all fishies in and swimming in, and the vibration of said medium.
Muppet has to take the Scarlet L.
Lemon.
Scarlet L for Muppet.
If
Mabbit is not willing to calmly work out his idea, I move that we skip him to other topics in the conversation. Curve, would you like more drama or more conversation?
In that motion
He doesn't understand altitude. The poor guy doesn't understand altitude. He destroys his drones. It's a sad state.
Curve, I just want to know, why was Brian saying that we live in a vacuum chamber? I mean, why was he saying that?
Because that's his response to the question.
I'm just kidding.
Why would you give me a fucking example of a vacuum chamber when in my state I never mentioned a fucking
I'm
vacuum
just kidding.
chamber?
Brian, I was just kidding. I'm sorry. My bad. It wasn't funny. My bad.
Well, he's trying to work out the vicissitudes of Brian's theory by going to this vacuum and saying, how do we explain this?
Don't grow underwater.
That is a legitimate concern, Abbott, that, experimenters are going to want to know. They want to know, do you have a viable explanation?
I am so calm right now because of this alcohol. It is amazing.
Do their own fucking tests and experiments.
We do our own tests and experiments, Brian, and then you guys don't listen to them, and you don't pay attention to the results, and you don't accept them, and then you say things like, we don't live in vacuum chambers.
Are you saying we do live in a fucking vacuum chamber?
No.
How did you get that out of what he said?
Are you saying we live in a vacuum chamber?
Still no. My answer hasn't changed in the last 15 seconds.
But Mabbit, the thing is, you can see the same phenomenon.
Hey Brian, can we talk about lunar parallax?
So you're going to need to give him an experimental framework to reinterpret what's happening in the vacuum chamber. This dude must have me muted or something, but you need to give him an experimental framework to reinterpret and see what you're talking about. Otherwise, no scientific revolution is going to happen. So if you haven't worked this out, let's move on to other ideas so you have time to work out your theory if you've worked it out at all.
Brian, I'm really
the ether sea that we're swimming in that is vibrating with frequency, determining what goes up, what goes down, and what flows.
Could you tell me?
All well and good, but there's too many fucking words. Too many words.
Think about that.
I'll try and use fewer words. How far moon, flat Earth?
3,000 to 10,000 miles by sextants. Next.
Next one.
How do you get that answer, Lemon?
You do not assume that the Earth moves millions of miles in space with the bottom leg of your triangle. When you do that, you have an inflated distance that is off. The Earth is motionless, and the only thing that you measure is June with a second, and you get 3 to 10,000 miles away.
Let me 3 to 10,000 miles, Lemon.
Okay, so Jeff, just so you know, Lemon is talking right now, and every time you are going, it's you and him at the same time. And Lemon's annoying enough without someone over top of him.
My name is
I bet he's
Tiffus.
even less annoying with somebody talking over him.
Are you doing it purposely or is it by accident? I really don't care either way. I can talk over you either way. But if you have me muted, I'm Antithesis.
You what?
I think in this chat I have another name. I'm Flatisha Plains. I am Flatisha Plains. Make sure Flatisha Plains not muted.
Why is every cunt called you fucking lemon then?
Flatisha.
Your outrage is inappropriate. I don't know what you're so angry about, but just take it down a notch, buddy. Come on.
Right, next topic.
There we go. All right, that's the Brian we love.
Brian, work out your theory.
Have you learned how to fly your drone yet, Brian?
No, mate. I've put it on hold because it's finally fucking dawned on me. You daft bastards are getting me to check if water's fucking level. We done that in infant school with Mrs. fucking Jones.
You really believe that, don't you? You believe that's what's happening? We already know it's level.
Water's as flat as a witch's tit.
What your job is to prove that level is plain or flat, sir, over a sufficient distance that you can determine a difference
level, whatever you want to
between
fucking
your
term
flat
it.
conception in your dream world and the globe model, which accurately predicts
Curve, can you alter your voice changer because you sound like you've swallowed a fucking frog?
What do I sound like, Beach? Is this my normal voice or is it
This is the normal voice. This is your normal voice. You're good. You're good. Your mic's good. He's just being obnoxious about the fact that you have
he's just being a cunt, making fun of my voice, trying to be hurtful.
No,
trying
I'm
to
not.
cause me pain.
You're just talking fucking really deep.
Being a twat.
Oh, look, my name's victim. Someone get cards and victim card. Someone get cards and victim card now, gentlemen.
Brian,
that's a good voice. It's very melodic.
All right,
It's a wonderful voice.
There's an old episode of Star Trek where
Mr. Mavin, if you really want to get down on people's voices, you need to stop sounding like a neutered choir girl, okay?
That's a fair point. Fair point.
Someone get curved and victim card,
You
please.
sound perfect, Curve.
Not a
That
fair
come
point
over perfect.
because neuter denotes
Must
male
be
and
your
it's a choir
voice
girl.
distorting then.
that wasn't
What you just said then, Curved, come out perfect. And your mic must be distorted.
Brian, that wasn't curved. Though. That's just hilarious what you're saying right now. It wasn't curved. It was somebody else.
You're pretty smart, Muppet.
Hey, there's an old episode of Star Trek where McCoy